till every dark addiction starts to break, declaring there is hope and there is freedom. I speak Jesus. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, shine through the shadows, burn like a fire. I just want to speak the name of Jesus over fear and all anxiety. To every soul held captive by depression, I speak Jesus. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, shine through the shadows, burn like a fire. Shout Jesus from the mountains, Jesus in the streets, Jesus in the darkness over every enemy. Jesus for your families, I speak the holy name, Jesus. Shout Jesus from the mountains, Jesus in the streets, Jesus in the darkness over every enemy. Jesus for your families, I speak the holy name, Jesus. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, shine through the shadows, burn like a fire. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, shine through the shadows, burn like a fire. I just want to speak the name of Jesus over every heart and every mind, 'cause I know there is peace within His presence. I speak Jesus. May you find comfort in the name of Jesus today. Amen. Amen. I would ask if somebody could please bring some tea for the Sheena family. Anybody who would want? Oh, that's been taken care of. Excellent. Very good. So again, that was a beautiful, beautiful celebration of his Michael's life that we witnessed earlier. I know Susie had said it, but I was so proud of all the children. And when we were looking at the slides, Dominic, oh my God, I thought, who is that, Michael, or is that Dominic? And then Jada, you look like your aunt even. Like that, those Sheena genes are definitely some strong genes. Well done, well done. So I know that there are some who did not get the opportunity because of time and all of the people that are here, but this is an opportunity for those who have come. Firstly, family and friends from far. So I would like to call, in not any particular order, but Kulbinder Sheena, Jenny and Jimmy Thandi, and not in any particular order. So if you kind of show me where you're at, I can say, Kulbinder, would you like to go first today? So she is going to come and share. I just, not necessarily for Kulbinder, but we want to make sure that we provide some comfort and some times for some good memories and some laughter even at this time. Kulbinder, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Well, I've come all the way from England. I'm Michael's youngest auntie, Balby's youngest sister. And yeah, it's been a sad time, but you know what? This part is to celebrate his life. What can I tell you about Mike? I could tell you a lot of things about Mike. And we heard already about his character and how he was. But the most important thing is that Mike enjoyed life. No matter what happened around him, he enjoyed his life, you know, and his focus on life. You know, I mean, I started to think last night, Susie was saying to me, Auntie, have you written something? I said, you know what can I say about him? And I started to think back of when my brother and my sister-in-law got married, and I was 7 at the time. So I literally, there wasn't much difference in age between me and Michael. And 2 years later, Michael arrived. So I was 9. So we literally grew up in the same household. And he was the oldest of the next generation. And as we've already heard by so many people throughout the course of this time, Mike was always regarded as the favourite, probably because he was the oldest grandchild, the first child to come into the family. I remember when he was about 1.5 years and we'd gone shopping one day, and Mike always liked to have his way even at that time, at that age. And he had an absolute fit in the store and laid on the floor and started crying because he didn't want to leave until he had this remote control red Tonka car. And he absolutely adored it. But you know, he got his way, he got it by the time we'd left the store. And you know, you think back to memories like that, and I think to myself, when people used to say, oh, Mike's coming, you know, I used to think, and? I changed his nappies. I'm not scared of Mike. You know, so when people saw Mike, they saw him in a way like, oh, but having grown up with him, and what a privilege it was. I was one of the ones, for me, my relationship with Mike was a very close relationship. And I used to always think, and I used to always say that I want to be there for my nephew and nieces. Mike would always ring me, he'd text me. When we were in England, you know, I used to think, I want him to be able to come to me and talk and say the things that he'd be going through. And when they were going to move to Canada, it broke our hearts. But it didn't change my relationship with Mike. We were still very close. We always had been. And I used to always tell him about the Lord, always share my faith with him and say, come on, Mike, come on. You know, and I remember one year before they moved to Canada, he was quite young, and we used to go to the Assemblies of God conferences nearly every year. And this particular year, I remember Mike coming to me and saying, Auntie, Mum and Dad aren't going this year, but if you go, I can come with you. And I spent a whole week with Mike in Minehead, and we had a fantastic time, And you look back and you think of those memories and you think, you know what, even then, God was sowing his word into Mike's heart. And many years, it's good to hear that, he got on track and he started to walk with the Lord. When Mike moved to Canada and the family moved to Canada, as hard as it was for those of us sort of left behind, it was God's will. It was God's plan. And when I look at this gathering here today and I see what God has done and how the Lord has, over the years, used the family to minister to many people and touch their lives, you give thanks to God for something like that. I remember when they'd moved to Canada, Mike came back to England and my brother had said to me, keep an eye on him, right? And my relationship with Mike was, I was quite strict but very fair. He knew I loved him, but he also knew when he stepped over the mark. And he'd come back to finish his last year at art college. And he was still staying at the house where brother and Bubby had been living before they'd moved to Canada. And he said to me one day, he said, Auntie, he said, I want to have a couple of my friends over. And I said, okay. I said, how many? He said, only about 5. Okay, what are you going to do, Mike? Nothing, we're just going to chill and play some games and, just chill out. I said, okay. I said, all right then. I said, well, I won't come over that night then. He goes, all right. But my oldest sister lived on the same road. And I'd gone to visit her and I'd seen all these young people along the last part of the road. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of noise going on down there. So I said to my oldest sister, Mandy, I said, I'm just going to walk round and check, because there's a lot of young people hanging around here tonight, and they're all standing there with cans and drinking. And as I walked round to the front of the house, out on the front lawn, all these people, and I'm thinking, who are you? I thought, there's more than 5 on this lawn. And I went in through the living room, couldn't find Mike. Went in through to the garden, couldn't find Mike. Went upstairs, opened the bedroom door, and he's sitting there gaming with one of his mates, Matt. And I'm like, Mike. And he went, oh, Auntie, what are you doing here? And he looked absolutely shocked. And I said, 5 friends. And he went, well, it's a bit more than 5. I said, probably more like 50. And I went, you've got an hour. And he went, what? I said, you've got an hour to clear this house. And he went, Auntie, don't do this to me. And I said, no, I'm not doing it to you. I said, you've got an hour to clear this house. And I said, and in that hour, if it's not done, I'll clear it. And within an hour, I came back. And he's like, I'm going now. I said, you're not going anywhere. We had this my relationship with Mike, I was close to him. And he knew when he'd stepped over that mark. But he also knew that I loved him dearly. And I thank God for his life. I was the one that Mike would often text, or he'd say, Auntie, this is going on. What do you think I should do? And it was lovely to have that kind of a relationship with him. As I was thinking about this, I came across something that Mike gave me many, many years ago. And you've heard how he loved art. And when he was in England, and he'd gone to college there, he was so proud of this particular thing that he'd made. And it was his first piece of woodwork that he'd made in art. Okay, and it's in the shape of a battle axe. And I remember him coming home with this that day. And he was so proud. I don't know if you remember this, Bubby, but it was to put like a hot plate, saucepans on. And it sat in our kitchen for years and years and years. And as I was looking at this last week, I sat there. And I remember saying to him, probably in the last year, he came to visit me. And I showed him this and I said, Mike, do you remember this? And he went, I do. He goes, I can't believe you've still got it. And I said, you know what? God is your battle axe. He will teach you to walk every day through whatever comes your way. The book of Jeremiah says, you are my battle axe and the weapon of war. For with you I will break the nations in pieces. I thank God that Michael got to know the Lord. And I thank God that we can take peace and comfort in that today, knowing that he's with Jesus and, and that he found his way. And I think if Mike had anything to say to anybody here today, that if you don't know Jesus, you need to give your life to him. You need to ask Jesus to come into your heart. Because if Mike did it, then there's got to be something in it. There's got to be something in it. So I think, this represents, maybe today you're a friend, a family member, you may have worked with him, and I think Mike would be saying to you today, don't be angry. Yes, you'll shed your tears. Yes, you'll feel emotions that you never thought were there. You'll feel guilty for laughing again. You'll feel guilty at times and you'll think, I shouldn't be doing this. But you know what? Just the same way he got to know his God and know that his God is his battle axe. That's what I believe Mike would say to you today, is don't lose your direction. Get to know your God in a way that's personal to you. So I just want to say, I'm proud of my nephew. He was handsome and he knew it, and he knew everybody else knew it as well, And I remember when he told me about him and Cherry, and I'd come to visit, and he said to me, Auntie, what do you think I should do? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I said, do you love her? And he went, yeah. I said, then marry her. And Cherry, I want to tell you something today, right? In the last year, he sent me a text message, and he said, I've always loved her, and I always will. And I want to say something to Bobby and brother. There was times that Mike, when he came to England, his last visit, and we went out for dinner one day, and he said, I know Mum and Dad may have regrets as parents, but he said, Auntie, if my time comes, you tell them they did their best with me. And I know they love me and they don't feel guilty. So Mike knew he was loved. He was a special person in my life. And even at the last stages of his life, Cherry was at the hospital and I was saying, Lord, what do I say to him? And the Lord said to me, Isaiah 41, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you by my righteous right hand. And I said to him, Mike, this is a journey that you're going to take, and none of us can go with you. I said, but don't be afraid. I said, because the Lord is with you. And I said, as you walk this journey, he will hold you by his righteous right hand. I thank God that he's in glory, worshipping and praising God, and he made it. So I just want to thank God that I could be his auntie, and for the input, to have in his life over the years. A very, very special guy. And I just give thanks for his life today. May God bless you all. And I'm going to give this to my sister-in-law, to brother and Bubby, as a memory. So when you go through, just like you've heard, through those dark times, there's always a brighter day. And he will want you to keep going, every one of you. He will want you to keep going. He will want you to keep fighting, no matter what happens in life, but to do it in memory of him. May God bless and rest his soul in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Kulbinder. Jenny and Jimmy Thandy, if you'd like to come.
Hello everyone, thank you for the hospitality. It's been really good and really hard.
I'm here in place of Jenny.
Jenny's my sister, and this is our other sister. Right. Carrying on from the story from over there about the raw eggs. Does everyone remember the raw eggs? So don't eat raw eggs or you end up looking like this. That's the first story, all right? For those that don't know, we were the awesome foursome with a little sidekick. Mike, Susie, me and my sister, and our sidekick was Anthony. Can't forget you, Ant. We grew up in each other's homes. Every holidays we were around each other's houses. We did naughty things together, we played together, we sang together. On the rare occasion we even shared our food together. But it wasn't always rosy. We fell out, we scrapped, we argued, we wouldn't talk, but in the end we'd make up. This circle continued through adulthood, although frankly the scrapping stopped, mainly because Mike loved working out and we were scared what damage he could do. And yes, Mike, I'm sure you're grinning upon hearing that. Right. A lot of people have said about Michael being the sport kid. Well, I was a sport kid as well. So Michael's, my dad, my father, Michael's mum, sister and brother. So when you say to people auntie and uncle, everyone's auntie and uncle. You walk to a shop and you see someone in a chip shop saying, hello auntie, or you walk in a chemist and say, hello auntie, so I'm just trying to explain to you, not everyone's auntie and uncle. In our Indian culture we say that. Anyway. Right, so a quick story. Obviously you don't know Cherry. So this is how Michael was. So Michael, we grew up together. Michael's 1 year older. I was 1 year younger. Then six months later, Susie come. And then my sister...
A
year later. So it's always us four. We grew up together. This is when we lived in England before they moved. So Michael, as you can see when the slides are there, he was into fashion. He had everything. Everything was new. Me, I could get it, but he knew everything, so I used to copy him all the time. So Michael would walk in, he got, what did he get? Trainers. So he got these really good Nike trainers. I was like, I like these Nike trainers. He goes, tell your mum will get it for you. So I go to my mum, I go, Mum, Michael's got these trainers. I want these trainers. My mum got me these trainers. This is brilliant. Mike, this works. A couple of months later, he had this NFL jacket. Do you remember the Raiders jacket? So he got this Raiders jacket, and I'm like, wow, he's got this jacket. I don't know how he's going. Mum, look at Michael. He's got his jacket, NFL. I want a 49ers. All right, son, we get it for you. Sorted. Brilliant. I've got this now jacket. I go, Mike, this is brilliant. What's next on the shopping list? And then he goes, right, Jim, I'm going to get an earring. So he got an earring, he put an earring in there, and I was going, right, okay, so this is going to be really fun now. I'm going to have an earring. I was a bit scared about, putting a needle in my ears and everything, so I go to my mum. Mum, Michael's getting an earring. Oh, I want an earring. Mum shut the door on me, left me in the bedroom for a month. I phoned Mike up. Mike, I don't think this worked. You said to me my mum would copy what you do. He goes, I didn't say that. That's Michael. Day in, day out. He got me stuck all the time, always in trouble. So carrying on, I'm not going to stand here and tell you all what an amazing person he was. Obviously, he was amazing. He was my brother. He was the one I looked up to. We did everything together. The day they said they was going to move to Canada, I was like, you know what, it broke my heart. I was going to miss my sister, miss my brothers and everything, but you know what? It's their choice. So from there, it's always visiting Canada. I must have come 10 times back and forth. But our childhood was around our house. He'd come to our house in the summer. We'd go to yours. That was it. And then Michael's mum and dad would be obviously a bit... Our family was running shops. So in the summer, you're going to work in the shop. Then I go, no, I'm going Michael's house. So they would take us. We went to Bombay. We went to Butlins. We went to Brighton. We went everywhere. I thought, this is amazing. So instead of going ask, was he stubborn with all you as you would be with me? He didn't want to do something he sure heck would. So it was his way or no way. How many times Mike and I would fall out because he would say no? and I would get annoyed. I can still hear the way he would grunt his "no" at me and leave me so annoyed. But what can I say? Both of us have been blessed with the stubborn family gene. Mike was a rough diamond, unpolished, rough around the edges, but if you were lucky enough to see beneath his exterior, you see exactly what he had to offer. He offered me the chance to learn what determination was, and he showed me what resilience should be. We were awesome, foursome, with a sidekick, and that's where we'll always be. What a wonderful person. Rest his soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. So I'd like next just to get prepared Bob and Avtar Shukar and Polly, if you would, Serena Somal. That's you? So if you just prepare yourself. I have a very short story of my own, very short. Michael wasn't a man of Michael was a man of very few words, and this was just him and I. Okay. Now, in his work, he was a counselor, but this particular day he attended. No, I have to tell it the proper way. I was told, Miss Varan, there's somebody out here to see you. Now, twice in my working career, I am an assistant deputy warden. I have a little bit of authority, but I work at the prison. I'll set the stage. One time, somebody, when I was told that it was a bad situation, anyway, an acquaintance through Punjabi Masih Church was inside, okay? Now, this time, when I get, Miss Varan, there's somebody here to see you, named Michael. Okay. So I thought, okay. So I went. But he wasn't on the inside. I know all you people think, oh, Michael has been to where Miss Varan works. No. He was a counselor. He was helping somebody who had mental illness come and pick up his belongings. But Michael had encountered some red tape, some, all kinds of hassles. So he just wasn't going to put up with that kind of nonsense. And he says, I need to speak with Anita Varan. I know she works here. So then they called me. So of course that I helped him. But I just thought, you know what? He was no dummy. He knew where to go. He wasn't going to deal with all the mucky mucks. But he just, you know what? Please. I don't want to deal with you. I will go and deal with somebody who's going to actually help me. But I remember when I saw his face, I just thought, okay. I didn't even know he knew my last name, for heaven's sake. But you know what? It was quite an interesting time, and he got what he needed, and that's all that matters. Serena, why don't you come? Or Bob and Avtar. Let's do Bob and Avtar first, and then Serena, you go. Oh, that's your sister.
Yeah. Don't really know where to start, although I do this every morning at work. I'm kind of lost for words. Where do I start? I don't really know. Michael, a unique character. And the thing that I take from it is that he was part of us in all sorts of different ways. And me, being the uncle, probably miss him the most. I say I'll miss him the most, but I'm sure we're all going to miss him. So many memories, so many times, the 10 years I spent living here. And, well, I don't know. I can't go through sharing all of them with you. Some of you know some of them. Cherry, my Bobby, Buddy, and a few others. But he'll truly be missed. And all I can say to the kids is, I was there, his uncle. I'm still uncle today, tomorrow, and yesterday. So reach out. We're always around. I'm not that far away. The greatest pleasure I see is that Dominic is taller than us now. Right, we've got somebody to look up to. Anybody else want to say anything? Thank you very much.
Can you actually see me?
You can take that mic out and
Yeah. Mike would laugh at this. He always called me Shorty. So I'm Mike's cousin. So my mumma is there, my uncle, and it's mumma's sister is my mum, so the oldest of 3 sisters. So I'm here, I've got some messages from my brother and my sister and my mum as well. So I won't say too much, mostly because you can't even see me, so it's a bit weird. But what I will say is we are no exception to looking up to Mike. I think that is consistent for all the cousins and probably many others, and it was no exception for us. I think I describe Mike as a trailblazer, so he definitely didn't follow tradition. He wasn't going to be told, you're Indian and you've got to live life in a certain way. And I think it comes across in my brother's message actually, but he definitely opened a door for the rest of us to keep chipping away at. And I certainly did that to my parents' dismay. But I'll read some of the messages now. So this is from my mum to my dearest nephew, Michael. Everyone jokes about how you're the favourite, and you are genuinely one of mine. But for the others in the room, we all know Auntie Manjit's favourite line is, I don't have favourites, you're all my favourite. I have so many happy memories of you growing up, especially when you lived around the corner from us. I remember you running back and forth, playing football in the garden and even in the house. The many trips you and Balwinder, my dad, took to the pub, and then I'd have your food waiting when you got home. When you moved to Canada, you always came back to see us, and you always made time for me, and that made me so happy. You'd always be laughing and joking and smiling, and you brought so much joy to our lives. I love you and I miss you. But I know I will see you in heaven again. Sorry. For many more smiles. Love, your Auntie Manjit. Next one's from Steve. That's my older brother. You'll always be Big Mike to me, the big cousin I looked up to and wanted to be like when I was young. The protector, the guy no one messed with. When we went out, I always knew you had my back and I didn't need to worry about anyone or anything. In a lot of ways, you opened up the path for the rest of our generation through your determination to do what you wanted to do, regardless of the old school Punjabi traditions. And I'm sure we will all continue to be grateful in our own ways. You're the reason that I'm a Liverpool fan, which has now continued into the next generation. You'll never walk alone. Rest in peace, cuz. And finally, from my sister, Ravina, so she's my youngest sister. Big Mike, aka the coolest guy in the world. Growing up, I always looked up to you as my big cousin. You always made time for us, and I knew when you entered a room it would be filled with jokes and laughter. We had some amazing times. This isn't goodbye. Instead, I will see you again for eternity in paradise, where you can carry on stealing my Galaxy chocolate, being your TV remote slave, fixing flat tyres on my car, and a pint of blackcurrant Ribena. Love you all, always, Vinny. He always called her Vinny. And just a final word from myself is, I definitely saw that very caring side of Mike that was behind the big, scary persona. Whenever he came to the UK, especially in the later years when I was a bit more grown up as well, he always asked how I was, but he never took the I'm okay answer. He always made this huge effort to go, well, no, how are you? What's going on in your life? And then he would keep asking me questions when we were out on our one-on-ones, until I really spoke to him and really told him what was going on. And he'd give me advice, and he'd always say, don't worry about anyone else. Just do what makes you happy. So no, I'll miss you, Mike.
Thank you, Serena. That was lovely. Oh my goodness, I think I'm going to pick up some of that accent. And some of you, if you haven't picked up some words, I recognize saucepan. That's just a pot, I think. And then chips. I think those are French fries. Yeah. So if you need to know, I picked up on some of those, that terminology. Rav here. Is she here today? Oh. Okay. And Josh. Is Josh here? Would you like to come up?
Hey everyone, so I'm Mike's cousin as well. Mike was the eldest cousin, I'm actually the youngest. So unfortunately my parents, Hardeep and Manjinder, couldn't make it today, so I'd just like to start by reading something they've both written. So first from my mum, or as Mike knew her, Auntie Ginger. I'm sorry I'm not able to be physically present with you as you all celebrate Mike's life, but yeah, I feel I'm there with you all. It's so hard to sum up what someone means to you in a few simple words, but I wanted to share what stood out most for me as I reflected on my fond memories of Mike, especially from the days when we all used to live together. Mike came into our lives when I was just 11 years old. I blame him for turning me into a preteen auntie. Mike was the firstborn of his generation, so you can imagine how much everyone spoiled him. His grandparents doted on him, and he knew he was the special one. It turns out Jose Mourinho isn't the only special one after all. I soon learned how to help care for baby Mike. He grew up fast and learned how to assert his authority. He worked out that throwing a tantrum got him what he wanted, so he used it to his best advantage. Mike grew up to be a typical teenager. He was cheeky, liked getting his way, and had a lot of fun. He would pretend to be hard and pick fights at school, but only with kids who deserved it. If you got on the wrong side of him, you better watch out, but that was only because he was so protective of the people he loved and cared about. Mike would never give away all of himself. You would only see the sides of him that he wanted you to see, but if you knew him well, under the tough exterior, he was a shy, sensitive, private person, and those traits stayed with him his whole life. Mike and the family moved out of the home we all shared as an extended family in 1988, when he was just 14. By then, we'd all grown close, so it was difficult to see them move out, although they were only a few streets away. For me, the hardest thing was when the family emigrated to Canada in 1993, when Mike was 19. By then, I was married and had a baby daughter. All my dreams of enjoying family life with the people I loved were dashed, and I would miss out on watching Mike grow from a young adult into a mature family man. Mike's caring and sensitive nature really showed through when I visited Canada the few times I was able to get there. The most touching thing was Mike making sure he always had a tub of Smarties ice cream in the freezer for me when I visited. He knew I loved it. Mike didn't wear his heart on his sleeve, but that was his way of saying, I love you. But the favour did go both ways. He expected me to cook shepherd's pie for him every time I visited. Once he even left a note on the fridge saying, hands off, I've licked this, so do not eat. Just to make sure no one else would be tempted to tuck into the treat. Mike's passing has left a massive hole in our family and in our hearts. He was tough. He wasn't one for giving in or being told what to do, and that sums up his whole attitude towards the disease that eventually won the fight. But the battle is Mike's, because he's now with the Lord and free of the tests and trials of this earthly life. His children can be so proud of their dad, not just because he is their dad, but because he left an example of courage and resilience for us all to follow. I will miss his WhatsApp messages. which were sometimes only 2 words long, but they were a joy to read because you knew that if he bothered to write, it was because he was thinking of you. Goodbye to my dearest and beloved nephew, Mike. You will be forever in my heart. Now I just want to read from my dad, or as Mike knew him, Uncle Harry. I first met Mike in early 1989 when he was 14 and I was 25. There we were, 2 strangers, watching kids' TV one Saturday morning at 35 Norman Road. I reckon Mike was going through his serious phase at the time, so I don't think he was that impressed that the TV made me laugh out loud. He surely must have wondered what his Auntie Ginger was getting into by marrying an adult who liked watching kids' TV. I only knew Mike for about 4 years before he and his family emigrated to Canada, but I did get some revealing glimpses into his character. As tough as he was, he loved being pampered. Several times when I was at the house, he would sit on the floor and tell his dad to scratch his back. Not to get rid of an itch, but because it was the closest thing to a cuddle. Mike was also conscious of his appearance. If he looked good, he felt good. It took us hours and hours to shop for a suit for him to wear to my wedding. The trousers definitely had to be pleated. We finally found the suit he wanted from Top Man, which was much trendier than the Marks & Spencer's, as that would be more of his dad's style. Mike was extremely independent, but he also appreciated people lending their support as long as it wasn't made to look obvious. I remember going with him to his interview at Art College around the corner from South Bank University at Elephant and Castle. He told me not to enter the college building with him and made me wait for him a couple of blocks away. Now I think about it, he was probably afraid that I would embarrass him. Although Mike's passion for art was just starting to take shape, he wasn't scared of getting stuck into mucky jobs as long as it meant he could have some fun. My car, an old Fiat, needed a new clutch, but I couldn't afford to get it fixed. So Mike and his friend Matthew offered to have a go at fixing it. Well, the car got stripped down and it stayed that way in the garage. I still don't know what happened to all the bits, but I'm glad it brought some enjoyment to those young lads. When Mike revisited the UK after emigrating, he was almost unrecognisable. He left as a slim 18-year-old and came back with wall-to-wall muscle. This was the first clue I had about Mike's discipline and ability to push through the pain barrier to get what he wanted, what only he could give himself. It was obvious that Mike missed the UK and that the move to Canada and the loss of Uncle Charlie had a profound impact on him. He often spoke of his desire to move back to the UK, but with a growing family, that became less likely. Eventually, though, Canada began to feel like home. I realised then how important it was for Mike to have a sense of belonging and rootedness despite his fiercely independent nature. The other thing that was notable about Mike was the tattoos he sported. They were an outward artistic expression of who he was, a tough guy with a rugged image who loved his children so much that he wanted the whole world to know it, if only people would care to look a little more closely. He was not only proud of his kids, he wanted to raise them to be fearless and to live life their way. While these memories of Mike are something I'll cherish, the one memory of him that stands out most vividly for me is his last visit to the UK. Somehow he was different, more open, more articulate about his feelings and what he cared about. Listening to him talk about his counselling course, his jobs, his colleagues, his boss, and his counsellor brought home to me what Mike really wanted most in life. He wanted people to be real with him, to say what they mean, and to confront him with the truth, but without trying to control him or impose their own values and agenda. Mike could do superficiality as well as the next man, but the experiences he had through his training and especially his work created in him a hunger for authentic relationships. Those experiences also gave him a desire to reconnect with himself and to heal some of the broken areas that have remained hidden for so long. The illness, of course, also played its part in shaping Mike, the most significant of which was that it made a way for him to work through some stuff and reconnect with the Lord. By no means did Mike have everything together. None of us do, and none of us ever will. He knew that too. Yet the message of Mike's life to me is the most important lesson we can learn. That is the importance of having a genuine connection with our inner selves, with each other, and with our Creator. In the last few years, Mike, in his own way, shone a light on the inescapable goal of our lives, to discover who we really are and what we're capable of, and what we have been called to do with what we have. Those are the big questions he was confronted with, just as we all are at one time or another. It was a privilege to have known Mike, although I can't help feeling a tinge of sadness that I knew him less well than I might have done had the family not emigrated. The greatest privilege of all is that we can rejoice in the Lord, in whom Mike and all who believe have the blessed hope of resurrection to everlasting life. And just to close, I'd like to say a few words from me and my sister Narissa, who unfortunately can't be here. Mike, you are our eldest cousin and the first of our generation. My first ever trip to Canada was at the tender age of 2.5. Nissy was only 5. I remember those trips really well still, though. There were some great moments, such as getting to play football with you, trying my best to beat you at FIFA, and inevitably failing. Or the not so good, like when you locked me in a cage with your dogs, Foxy and Tyson, to try and help me overcome my fear of dogs, which did kind of work. Or when you chased me around your garden because you were trying to get me to wear a Liverpool shirt. Jokes aside, we both looked up to you. To us, you were the really cool elder cousin. One of my fondest memories with you is when you came back to the UK in 2010. I remember the day you arrived and you came back to our house. Mum had already prepared your favourite shepherd's pie, and you sat and played Xbox with me for about 2 hours. I remember the amount of laughs we had and the sheer joy and energy you brought to the room. Later in that trip, we went to London, Trafalgar Square together with Uncle Jimmy to watch the World Cup final. I was 15 at the time, but it was my first experience of London at night. We had a great time watching the game and celebrating with the Spain fans after. I remember how much fun you had, and I'm really pleased we got to share that experience together. Mike, you were always a man of strength. As many people have alluded to already, your love language was protection. Underneath your strong exterior, you've always been someone who possesses a deep care and love for family. This is best exemplified for me personally when at the age of 12 or 13, I told you that I was getting bullied at school. You were so angry to hear this and vowed to get the first flight over to the UK to sort the kids out if it carried on. This perfectly demonstrates who you were, though. It didn't matter the circumstance. No one should or could mess with someone you loved. The people around you mattered to you deeply. I regret the fact we spent our whole lives living so far apart, and I'm sorry to not have seen you more, Mike. I regret not taking more trips to Canada as I became an adult and missing chances to spend life with you. Having said that, and despite being such a far distance away, you have profoundly impacted mine and Narissa's lives. You've exemplified what it means to have strength of character and mind, the value of family, and the art of perseverance, and these are things we'll carry with us forever. We'll miss you, Mike.
Did you ever get over your fear of dogs? Oh, don't anybody try that with me, though. Thank you, Josh. We have one more speaker from the list that I was given, and that is somebody from the Oteza family. Now, when I spoke to the Oteza family, they said that would be Cherry. So, yes, and I believe that gentleman back there, he said, so I'm... So that, now I know that I had seen people from Mike's work, from ACT. Where are you? I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you had wanted to share something. You don't have to, but I just wanted to make sure that you were, all of you who did work with him, but I'll let you think about that for 30 seconds. Cherry, would you come? Pastor Bilbeer, if you wanted to say something. I will say after Cherry comes, Brother Rehan will come if nobody wants to speak from that table. But that, you know what, I know that the Sheena family have received cards, food, people just coming to sit with them, the prayer times that they've had in their homes, and all the flowers. And it's such an act, an outward expression of the love that you have given to them, and they truly, truly have been touched and appreciate it. So I thank you on behalf of them. I know they will do that at some point whenever, things settle, but I know that is their heart. So I thank you on their behalf for that. Based on the number of people that we see here today, I know that some of you may not have known Michael, but you know his parents and Susie, Herman, and some of the kids, Cherry perhaps, but you came out of your deep respect and love for the Sheena family. So we thank you for that as well. And so I won't take any more of your time. Cherry, if you would like to come, and then Brother Rehan. Thank you. You won't see me again, and you won't hear from me again, but it has been an honor to represent the family here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, for leading that. I'm not sure which one of my family said that I would be speaking.
The tall one back there.
The tall one. It could be my brother. Thank you. There are some extra things that I wanted to say that I didn't get a chance to say from the front. And a few months ago, I was sitting with Michael in the car, and we had just gone for coffee, and our relationship, I think that in our marriage, he always had wanted us to be ribbing each other and laughing all the time. And I think that in the last years, that's really what we got. But I was sitting with him, and I asked him a question. I said, what are your favorite things about your family? This was a few months ago. And so he started telling me about his favorite things about his kids, and his favorite things about his parents, his favorite things about his siblings. And so I'm just going to share those things. Gabriel, he said about you that his favorite thing was that you have a huge, giant heart, and that in the last year, you made such a good job of taking care of him and spending that time with him, and it was something that was really special to him. Jada, he always saw you running around and helping your family and helping him. And one of the things that he said was that your selflessness, that was his favorite thing about you. There are many favorite things about you, of all of you, but these are the things that stood out to him the most. And I want you to really remember these things. Dominic, many people have said it over and over again, you're a spitting image of your dad. But what he respected in you was, one, your physical strength, but especially your mental strength. And I just want to say that he would be so proud of all three of you going through this time and how you've been really strong together. Susie, what he admired about you the most was the way that you think, specifically your logic. And he loved you very much. Mom, you're the one who took care of him so much. I remember even in the hospital, I was sitting beside him and I said, Michael, it's my birthday today. And he turned to his mom and said, Mom, come over here. He loved you so much, and he saw that. Dad, he said what he appreciated about you the most was your wisdom. And it wasn't the wisdom of man. He said that you had godly wisdom, and he appreciated that very much. And Aunt, We've talked a bunch over this day about how sometimes Michael can be a bit cranky. He admired very much in you that if you were upset, you wouldn't hold it, and you could forgive quickly. And he saw that in you. And I just want to say to the family that it was so important for him about unity. We could see it in his artwork. It was something that he cared about so much. And so I just want to honor his memory and honor the family. And he loved you all so much, and he'd be so proud of you. Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you all on behalf of the Punjabi Masihi Church pastoral team and the board and all the members of the Punjabi Masihi Church. We would like to extend our deepest condolences and pray that God will give you strength. Even though it's a sad time, but when we hear all the good things about Michael, I saw him just a few days before he went to be with the Lord, and I could see the strength in him, and I could see that as we were praying, he would just pray with us, and I was thanking God, and we were all believing that one day he's going to walk up and stand here and preach. But God had a different plan. But as long as we have the breath, we have the hope. That is why we do not lose hope and we continue to pray. But let God's will be done. Amen? I'm going to sing one song and we are going to finish, and the food is going to be prepared. And the family is going to go first, but I will ask Brother John, he will come to every table, and then you can go. So let's all prepare ourselves. I'm going to sing a Hindi song, Georgie. It has been a long time, so it's good to be with Georgie, Alex, and Wilson, and it looks like we are in our old days. Amen. Ji bajana beta. So anyone who wants to come and join us on the drums and all. The song is about John chapter 14. Let your hearts not be troubled. दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है. I know there was a time Cherry used to sing with me, and we used to have a lot of good times. And I still believe that God has chosen all of us, especially all of you who are sitting in these white dresses. You look like angels. God is good. Every bad time, every challenging moment, He will never leave or forsake us. दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है. दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है. यीशु जिंदा है. यीशु जिंदा है. दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है। दुख और सुख में साथ न छूटे यीशु जिंदा है। यीशु जिंदा है, यीशु जिंदा है। दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है। राह और हक और जिंदगी मैं हूँ, सच सच कहता हूँ। अच्छा गडरिया शांति मैं हूँ, सच सच कहता हूँ। मौत से डरना कैसा भाइयों, यीशु जिंदा है। मौत से डरना कैसा बहनों, मौत से डरना कैसा बहनों, यीशु जिंदा है। यीशु जिंदा है, यीशु जिंदा है। दिल ना डूबे आस न टूटे यीशु जिंदा है। बहुत मकान है बाप के घर में, सच सच कहता हूँ। बहुत मकाम है बाप के घर में, सच सच कहता हूँ। छोड़ूंगा ना तुमको तन्हा, सच सच कहता हूँ। फिर आएगा ले जाएगा यीशु जिंदा है। फिर आएगा ले जाएगा यीशु जिंदा है। धरती और आकाश है मेरे, सच सच कहता हूँ। चांद सितारे सूरज मेरा, सच सच कहता हूँ। जीवन जल और जीवन रोटी यीशु जिंदा है। जीवन जल और जीवन रोटी, जीवन जल और जीवन रोटी यीशु जिंदा है। All of you have come from far and wide, and people from UK and especially Pastor Om and Sister Kamlesh, they came all the way from California. And if Pastor Om, would you like to come and say a few words? Or
praise the Lord. Nice to be here, especially Pastor Sheena. This time they're going through. Just want to say, Pastor Sheena, our House of Prayer Church, all praying for you and your family that God can comfort you by His Holy Spirit and strengthen you to walk, be example for others. So God bless you all. I'll be sharing some tomorrow. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wants to say some things? All right, so is the food is ready or ready? So we would request family, please go and have a little bit to eat, and then later on others can go. And while you are taking food, I'll just sing a little bit. सैम को बुला लेना कीबोर्ड के लिए.